Chapter 15, page 103. Saturday. Miss Dodson from ACS, Administration for Children's Services, and Miss Rossetti from Progress announced that instead of our regular Saturday routine, we were going to have a basketball game and then a co-ed group session. Miss Dodson handles kids in the foster system, and I figured that had to be a hard road because they didn't have a home to go back to when they got out. Remember, they did the same thing before Christmas, Play asked. We're supposed to be smiling and stuff when we play? Yeah, first they divide us into two teams and run the game, I said, remembering the Christmas program. They video the game and then the whole group thing is about how basketball is supposed to be about life. What they call it again? Play was eating an apple. A semaphore or something like that? A metaphor, I said. Remember? Miss Dodson asked us to show how basketball was like life, and that kind of girly dude said that the ball was round and life was round, and she asked him what that meant, and he said he didn't know, but he had noticed all balls were round. That guy was a goof, Play said. Why are you eating the core of that apple? I asked. You that hungry? No, I'm too lazy to take it over to the garbage can, Play said. Miss Rossetti set up the teams with me, Toon, Play, Mr. Pugh, and a skinny kid who was on some serious meds on one side. On the other side, they had Mr. Wilson, Diego, Leon, and a fat white kid everybody called Lump, and the King Kong dude who was messing with me before. The team was the shirts, and when King Kong took off his shirt, I saw he had a bird tattooed on his chest with some Chinese writing on it. He said it was his name in Chinese letters, and that his name was Tyreek. That's why it's got 5 letters, he said. You know, I read Chinese, I told King Kong. And it don't say no Tariq. What'd it say? He looked at me sideways. I got real close and squinted at the letters. It says, please flush after each use. Mr. Pugh and Play cracked up, and Mr. Wilson put his hand over his mouth. Everybody was laughing but King Kong Tariq. The game started and the only real ball players in the court were me, Play, and Mr. Wilson. Everybody else was jive. Mr. Pugh was running around knocking people down and walking wherever he got the ball. Me and Play were scoring. All we had to do was to keep the ball away from Mr. Wilson. Toon was a trip. If he had the ball and you came near him, he'd give it to you. We'd be waving for him to pass, but he'd panic and give the ball to anybody near him. When I got into the last post, low post, King Kong kept coming over to me and leaning his body against mine like he was digging me or something. I put my elbow in his chest a couple of times and told him to back off. He knocked Toon down a couple of times, even when Toon didn't have the ball. He wouldn't mess with Play, and he tried to goof on Mr. Pugh, but Mr. Pugh was so busy with whatever he thought he was doing he didn't even dig it. When it went wrong, I didn't even notice it right away. All I know is that King Kong gave Toon an elbow to the back of his head, and I automatically did what we did in the hood when some big jockey fool started hitting people on the court. I stomped down on the top of his foot near the ankle. He grabbed at his leg and then he jumped up and came toward me. I thought he was going to chest me up, but he didn't. The sucker lit me up. He was throwing a lot of punches, but he really wasn't hitting all that hard. Mr. Pugh gathered him around the waist and pulled him off me. I put my hand on my mouth and saw my lip or something was bleeding. Calm down, Mr. Pugh was yelling. This is only a freaking basketball game. Calm down. I looked over at King Kong and he was breathing hard and running me up and down with his eyes like he was ready to kill me. Are you calm now? Mr. Pugh had both arms around King Kong and was yelling into his ear. Yeah, King Kong said. It wasn't really me, but it was somebody in my skin taking a step forward and hammering that fool in the temple with the side of my fist. Sucker's arms went up into the air and he flopped down onto the ground. Everybody here is on report. Everybody here is on report. Mr. Pugh was screaming. Okay, so what happened was that Miss Dodson was only there for the day and we were supposed to have group. Mr. Pugh and Mr. Wilson wanted us all to go back into our cells and locked in, and they were going to figure out if anybody had to go to detention. But Miss Rossetti came up with the idea that this was a perfect opportunity to teach us something in group. The story was that everything was up to Mr. Pugh and Mr. Wilson. I figured Mr. Pugh didn't care one way or the other and would follow whatever Mr. Wilson wanted to do. If Mr. Wilson was mad, then me and King Kong would probably be written up and both of us on our way to 23-7. If I went to 23-7, then Mr. Cintron would definitely tear me up. If Miss Rossetti could get Mr. Wilson over his mad, I had a shot. We were lined up and taken to the dorm hall where we had to stand at attention with our hands in the perp position behind our backs as if we were cuffed for 15 minutes. Then Mr. Wilson came and got me and King Kong and took us into one of the 23-7 rooms. What you guys need to learn, he said, that these steel bars will keep your dumb butts calm if you don't control your dumbass minds. That's what you need to learn. Or if the steel bars don't slow you morons down, you know what will? That little chalk mark that put around your body in the street. What's your pleasure, girls? He started it, King Kong said. I didn't mean to start nothing, I said. I was just having fun. Mr. Wilson leaned close enough to me so I could actually smell him and spoke softly into my ear. Your life ain't about fun, he said. It's about holding enough of your ass together to walk free again. You understand that? Yes, sir. If either of you so much as cross your eyes in group, I'm going to nail you to the wall just like they do those bearskins, Mr. Wilson said. We're trying to give you a chance to make something of your ugly selves because that's our job, and we like to turn you around but don't mess up our lives with your bullshit. But don't think for a minute that if personal, because it's not. Any of this mess up will nail you, send you to the next lockup, and move on with our lives and the routine here like you never even existed. Do I make myself clear, Mr. Anderson? Yes, sir. Do I make myself clear, Mr. Sanders? King Kong said he understood. But we were leaving. King Kong gave me a look and screwed up his face. Sucker didn't understand nothing.